Welcome back to the class, guys, and I hope you guys are doing pretty good. So we are in the logic building module, and today also we will be solving a very interesting interview question. This particular question was given to me by a student of the SDET masterclass, and this is a very tricky interview question. It's a question from Hacker Rank, and most of you guys were having a discussion in the WhatsApp group, so I thought, why not I just cover this particular question for you guys. Now, a lot of students thought that this is a very difficult question, but here's the thing, guys, this question is very simple and it's very straightforward. The problem that happens over here is that people have difficulty understanding the entire problem statement. So how exactly this particular class is going to be conducted is that first I will be explaining the entire problem statement. Once we have understood the entire problem statement, you and I, we will be writing the code together. Okay. So let's try to understand this particular problem. Please, guys, whenever you are studying with me, please make sure that you have put your phone on silent mode. Okay. And technically just keep your phone in some other room. Okay. There should be zero distraction when you guys are studying with me. Now, over here, guys, we have this particular problem, and the problem is microservice health monitor. Okay, this particular question is basically from Hacker Rank only. This is from Hacker Rank coding challenge, and the interviewer has given us like 30 minutes to solve this particular problem. Over here, the problem is that a company runs 3 microservices every day. So there is a firm, okay, and in that particular firm, there are 3 microservices which runs every single day. At the end of each day, the status of all the microservices is recorded as a string. This is important, that the status of all the microservices is recorded as string, in which in that particular string, you are only going to have these 2 characters, either Y or N. Y basically means that the microservices is up and running. N means over here that microservice has failed. So over here, guys, we are going to have 3 microservices. Let's say M1, M2, M3. Okay. And then at the end of the day, we will see what is the status of all the 3 microservices. If all the values are Y, 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 what it means? That all the 3 services are up and running. Perfect. What if it is like this? M1, M2, M3, I say Y, N, Y. What do you conclude with this string? We conclude that microservice 1 was up and running, microservice M3 was also running, but microservice 2 failed. Is this part clear? Perfect. So over here, guys, this is what the string is going to hold. Okay, it is just going to have either Y or N, but there will be 3 characters because we have 3 microservices. Each element in the list represent 1 day's status of all microservices. Now, here's the most interesting thing. This value which you see is only for 1 day, but we will be given a list which is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So over here, we're going to have 0 index, 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the size of the list? 5, right? The size of the list is 5. Now, this particular list, guys, is only going to store string value. So over here, we're going to have something like this. Y, 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 N, Y. Any combination it can be Y, Y, N, Y, 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 and Y, Y, Y. Now, whatever is going to be there on the 0th index is technically the value for Monday. Whatever is there on the first one is for Tuesday. Whatever is there on the second one is for Wednesday. This is going to be for Thursday, and this is going to be for Friday. So we have the string value, but technically we don't have one string value. We have a list of string. Is this part making sense to everyone? And each of the index technically specify a particular day. Now, most of you guys will be thinking, why 5 days? Because you work only for 5 days, Monday to Friday. Clear? Now, our job over here is to find the longest streak of consecutive days where all the microservices was up and running. Okay? We want to find the longest streak. Streak means there should be continuous days where the values were y. Okay? Meaning all the 3 microservices were up and running. Chuck the word microservices. You are only looking, okay, as those consecutive memory location where the value is y. All right. Observe carefully. This is what is there in front of you, just to write it down properly. This is y, yn. Here also, let's say we have y, and here also y. Now, this is the data for 5 days. This is the data for 5 days. Perfect. Now, over here, guys, if I ask you, tell me the longest streak where all the microservices were up and running, then what you're going to say? If you observe carefully, on Monday, we were having all the microservices up and running, yes or no, because the values is y. Now, we will check for Tuesday. The moment I check for Tuesday, I see y and y. There is a n over here. There is a n over here popping up, right? Now, this cannot be a streak. Why? Because on Tuesday, there was one service which was down. If I go to Wednesday, yn, again, one more service was down. So, here also, we don't have all the services which was up and running. Till now, only Monday was the day where only all the services were up and running. Tuesday service failed, Wednesday service failed. When I look at Thursday, again the service is up and running. All the services up and running. And if I look at Friday also, all the services are up and running. So there are technically 2 consecutive days where all the services are up and running. Are you getting the point? So the output of this particular program should be 2. Now, over here, guys, they have set a rule. If a day string contains only y, that day counts as a streak, meaning all the services were up and running, right? If a day string contains 1n, the streak is going to be resetting to 0. Okay? The streak value resets to 0. Why? Because obviously it has broken the pattern, right? Now, return the maximum streak found. Over here, the input is y, and y. So over here, your streak is 1 because all the 3 services were up and running. Now over here, we got y and y. So the streak is going to be reset to 0 because there is an n popping up over here, right? Then we have y, streak is again going to be set to 1. Y, streak is going to be updated to 2 because there are 2 consecutive days now. And we have y, streak is going to be updated, and the value of the 3 consecutive, the maximum streak over here is going to be 3. Hence, the output of this particular program is 3. Now, we have to write the code for this particular program. Now, if I scroll down, they are just given the same explanation that day 1, all the 3 services were up and running. So current streak is going to be 1. Maximum streak is also going to be 1 because on day 1, there's only 1 day. So the maximum streak is 1. When I say day 2, okay, we have y and y. 1 failed. The moment there is 1 n popping up, the current streak is going to be reset to 0. But the maximum streak is still 1, meaning if there were only 2 days, okay, in the list, the maximum streak was only here, meaning over here, all the 3 services were up and running. If I still combine day 1, day 2, day 3, observe carefully, y. Over here, all passed, okay? And what is going to happen? the current streak is 1. Okay, the maximum streak is still y. It's not going to be 2 because obviously on day 2 there was this y and y popping up. So we will still say that the maximum streak over here is 1 only. Now for day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, we are having 2 consecutive days. So our current streak is going to be updated with 2 and the maximum streak is technically going to take that particular value. And day 5, again, we have all the y. So technically the current streak is going to be 3 and the maximum streak is also going to become 3. Okay. So we have to write the logic of this particular program. Now let's get started over here. Over here, I'm going to go back to the com.logic building. And if you notice, guys, now we have covered a hell lot of programming in this entire SDET masterclass. Okay. So we have solved literally, I believe, more than 100 questions or something. Okay. But here's the thing, guys. Whatever these questions which we have covered so far, these are all important questions. And when people share me, like what kind of questions have been asked for them in the interview, it's the same questions. Okay. So if you study the entire logic building properly, I can give you in writing that you are going to do just fine in your coding rounds. And that's the whole purpose of this SDET masterclass, right? We just don't want ki baba you do a shallow learning. You have to build the project, and that's the most important thing. So over here, guys, what we will be doing, we will be quickly creating a class. Let's call this particular class as Mac Streak Problem. And inside this particular class, let's introduce the main method, Control Shift F. This is the first thing which is important. And we will be creating a list of string, which is going to be weak logs. And we will be having arrays dot as list, and all the values that we have in this particular document, we will be using that. So let me just quickly open this particular document. We have been given this input value, right? So I'm just going to quickly copy all these values. Okay. Let's go back over here, and inside this list, we will put it off over here. So looking at this particular values, we know that the maximum longest streak that we have is of 3 days. Perfect. Now, what I'll be doing is now, for simplicity, I'll just quickly create a method. Let's call this method as calculate max streak. And we will be passing the weeks log. That's it. Okay. Let's bring and create the method. Now, observe what we need to be. We are going to keep a track of 2 things. The first one is going to be current streak, meaning we will check whatever the value that we are reading, is it a streak or not. So over here, I'm going to say int current streak. Okay. And that I'll be initializing it with 0. I'm also going to have a maximum streak. And the reason to have this maximum streak also is to compare that of the value that we have read in the past, is it greater than the current streak value that we have? Okay, so this maximum streak is going to take care of that. Now, what we will be doing is we will be traversing this particular list. And since it's a list, for each loop is going to do just fine. So I'm going to do for. Let's call this string day data. Okay, or let's call this data for simplicity. And we're going to get the data from the weeks log. And if I just do a system.out.println data, you will notice if I'm going to click on the play button, we are getting the value y, y and y, 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 y. All right, all those things we are getting it off. Now we need to check whether it is a streak or not. So how we are going to do that? Simple if condition. If data dot contains, okay, contains n. If data dot contains n. Why n? Because the moment a n is going to be present, it means that it is going to break the streak for us, right? So I'm going to say if data does not contain n, it means that it is a streak, meaning all the services were up and running. So over here, let's scroll down and let's bring this chap over here. Just to show you, I can say something like system.out.println data, and I can say all services up. Save this, click on the play button, and you will notice that it's only printing the values y. N is not popping up. But we also need to have a else condition over here. We'll do something about this else part. Now, over here, since we got y for the first time, it means that it is a streak. All services are up and running. So I'm going to say current streak is going to be current streak plus 1. I'm just going to increment it off. Along with that, I'm going to calculate the maximum streak. Maximum streak is going to be very simple. I'm going to say math.max current streak as well as the maximum streak. Whatever is the maximum between the max streak and the current streak, that will be taken and given to this. But if there is this n word which is going to be present in the data, it is going to break the pattern. It's going to break the pattern. And because it is going to break the pattern, we need to start counting from 0 again. So if n pops up, I will be updating my current streak to 0. And this problem is solved. Okay. So if I just zoom out and outside the for loop, I just print the max streak that we have, it should be giving me the value 3. Okay. This is the entire code. Okay. So I want you guys to write this particular code at your end, practice it off pretty well because it has been asked, recently. So chances of you getting this particular question is also pretty high. And now you'll start noticing that, see, when you're looking at automation testing interviews or SDET interviews now, the interview focus has already changed. They will ask you questions related to coding. They will ask you questions related to framework designing, framework refactoring. Okay, your AI testing tools or AI tools are also going to pop up. So please make sure, guys, you need to know where you should be focusing on during your interviews. That's the reason I always say build projects. The more you build projects, if you're going to have a strong portfolio, you are definitely going to thrive in this entire, 2026 market. So please make sure that you study well. Okay. Whatever the lectures which I have kept in the SDET masterclass, it's going to help you out, stand out during your interviews. You would have seen the success stories of the students also, that all the questions from the coding rounds or related to the framework, it has all came from the modules that we have created. Okay. And the best thing over here now, guys, see, a lot of time people say that AI is there, so the coding is going to be less and all. Yes, the coding is going to be less, but what is not going to change is the debugging part. Okay. So if your AI agents are going to write the code, you should be able to review the code. You should be able to technically debug the code. And how are you going to do that if you don't know anything about your coding fundamentals? Chuck the coding fundamentals. You want to build projects. Okay. How do you build projects when you don't have a solid fundamentals of your programming language? So this is going to backfire, like at least the juniors now, people with 1-2 years of experience, who want to grow in IT now, for them it is going to be very difficult. I feel that your senior management, okay, or if you're going to be someone with, let's say 7, 8 or probably 10, 12 years of experience, this is the right time to take the advantage. Build projects properly, okay, and whatever the projects that we have kept over here in the LMS, you put it off in your resume. Okay, it's just going to help you out in getting a better job. Make sure you practice this particular program pretty well. I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.